Hi.
Hey, how are you? I don't know if we got a chance to speak yet or if you've spoken to anybody from the site, but we got your inquiry. And
I did.
If you have a few minutes now, we would love to help you. Maybe recommend a few things, educate you, help you figure out what brand might work for you.
The fella called me yesterday or the day before. What's his name, Mark?
Mark? Okay.
Mark. Yeah, we talked a little bit.
Okay, great.
And I thought I was pretty knowledgeable, but after talking to him, I realized I really wasn't. He suggested that I do a little more research as to what I might really be wanting. Actually, I was looking for something inexpensive that would give me a good sweat, that kind of thing. Years ago, I had an opportunity to be in a place where they had a steam sauna, adjacent to their other amenities, and I loved the way I felt when I participated with that. And had seen that maybe the infrared kind of was a new thing, and that kind of started my journey into seeing. And some of the booths and things like that they're just out of my price range. I just couldn't. So I had looked at the various tents, some of the cheapies, I guess, that come from China, read the reviews from people who were not terribly impressed. Had learned the difference between the infrared and the ceramic, and realizing that the infrared, I guess, for newer things is the better way to go. What Mark had suggested that I look at, because I hadn't, was the domes. And I did go in and take a look at those, and the one that looks like it's going to have any real benefit or not is about $1,700-$1,800, and that's way beyond what I can do.
Okay.
So that kind of stopped me in my tracks, to tell you the truth. I had looked at the, help me with the pronunciation. It's Thera.
Therasage.
Yeah, that black unit, and looked like it had gotten some pretty good reviews and might be the best of that particular type of thing. But again, whether it really is as therapeutic as I would like for it to be, I have a question mark now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you have input on the different choices? I don't have much time. I'm working, but I would listen to whatever you might have to say.
Yeah, well, the Therasage is actually a great unit. Probably for the tents that we've tested, it's probably one of the best tents. So if you're okay with that, then that's a great one to go for. It's around we do it for $520, $545, just depends. That's usually what it goes for. But we like it because they use pretty non-toxic materials, and it also gets pretty hot in there too, which surprised us. Because generally carbons don't really get a place too hot, but this gets up to 140 degrees, so we were impressed by that. Obviously, of course, it's a much smaller space in there than a full-blown sauna, so that's part of the reason. Yeah. But and then the other thing too is, we are pretty big advocates of ion therapy as well, and you get that with the tourmaline discs, that sit on top of the carbon panels. So there's nothing like that else out there, which we were pretty impressed by. It's not just carbon, but you got the tourmaline. And the tourmaline itself also is a known infrared emitter. So they don't make that very clear when they talk about it, that it's not just the ions, but it actually is also releasing additional infrared in different spectrums from the stone itself.
Okay, and we need to step back because I'm not sure what tourmaline is. Are those
It's the
stone? Are there stones in it? I thought they were just somehow on the.
No, they're discs. They're you can.
Are those embedded though in the side?
They're actually on
in the
top.
Unit.
Yeah, they're on the heaters themselves, the emitters.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm with you now then.
Yeah,
okay.
So whenever you heat up certain stones like jade, tourmaline, amethyst, things like that, they emit infrared. So you're kind of getting, additional spectrums. Carbon generally goes to just kind of certain micron ranges, somewhere between 4 and 7. But when you put on the tourmaline as well,
I have to show my ignorance. I thought they were carbon. I didn't realize they were something different.
They are. They're carbon. And then they have tourmaline discs as well on the heaters.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Exactly. So we were impressed by that because nobody else is doing that at all.
Yeah.
And use of stones, heating up stones in general, has been done for a long time for really cheap infrared. And then those are the comet stones: amethyst, jade, tourmaline. So you also get that in there as well. They make a mat that you can lie on. Have you seen that? The Therasage mat, and it's got.
I haven't seen anything in person. Everything I've seen has been online.
If you go to our website, we just put it on there. That we have a little section that says infrared mats, and we put the 3, best-selling, most popular, and pretty much the only ones out there really, infrared mats. Therasage also makes an infrared mat. So when you look at that mat, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about as far as the discs, what they look like, the discs. So just imagine those on the carbon emitters. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
now the tent though just is a tent. I mean, it just is a body surrounder, right? It doesn't really have anything on the floor.
They actually use aspen wood, which is good because a lot of these tents, most of them, honestly, they use really cheap toxic materials. They use plastic rods to hold the whole thing up. Not a good idea. So Therasage actually uses wood, so that's very unusual. They get a tent like that that's using wood to frame it out.
Huh.
So you know what I mean? So they decided,
it's pretty sturdy.
We're going to build something that people want this portability. They want something affordable, but let's not give them a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Because there's
I was looking at the one person wood products, and some people have those on sale right now, and I guess I've seen as low as $699, clear up to $5,500 or more. And Mark had shared that he felt like and I would confirm that with you, that the less expensive ones, the wood tends to be very thin and it really doesn't hold up well. Is that your belief too?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
They try to get as thin as possible. To save on cost. But Therasage is like somewhere around $545, something like that. So, I think they priced it very competitively considering that there's a lot of other tents out there that are nowhere near the same quality for about the same price. I think, that really kind of impressed us. But what impressed us, too, is just it must be the tourmaline because the fluence in there is significantly higher. The fluence has to do with, like, the radiant, the radiance of the infrared. So it's noticeably different. We haven't sat in too many, but we've sat maybe in like 4 other types of tents, and this one got us both sweating the fastest, probably within like 5 minutes.
Talk to me a little bit about your opinion of the dome.
Dome is kind of taking it to the next level. Basically, it gives you, first of all, the emitters are totally different. They're a mix of ceramic and carbon fiber. So you get much more fluency on that. It's pretty intense.
What is the word fluency? What's that word?
Probably I'd like to use the analogy of if you turn on a light bulb. A light bulb is actually emitting infrared, believe it or not. And when you hold your hand close to it, how you can start to feel the heat. When you take it further away, you don't so much feel the heat.
So it broadcasts farther.
Yeah, so it's really pretty much the same kind of scientific or physics principles with actual emitters. So you get to lie down on that. So first of all, you get the top sides of all your lymphatic channels in your legs, which you don't really quite hit. You don't really quite get the lower body as much in the Therasage 10. So
that's what I read about.
Lay down the whole thing, and then of course halfway through you could flip over on your stomach in the dome, get your whole backside. And then the emitters themselves are ceramic hybrid. They're one of the better heaters that we've experienced. Very, very intense. But what we like most about that was that there's a dial in there from like 1 to 15, something like that. And because you're so close to the emitters and there's so many in there and they're so intense, you can actually really adjust the power level, the temperature. Like it gives you a huge range. So what that means is you can keep it on the lowest setting, be really comfortable, but still actually get a really good sweat. Why that's a good thing is that it's not just because you're comfortable, but when you keep it on a low setting, you actually get infrared rays closer in the range that are most therapeutic. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that, like the 9.4, like if you've ever seen that micron range on different websites talking about it. But
I haven't stumbled into.
Well, either way, it gives you much more control in there, which is great. And you don't really you can't really control that so much with most real, like, full-blown saunas. So you can basically adjust. You can get types of infrared that are going to be more therapeutic for you the whole time you're in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not realize that it had that it was ceramic rather than the carbon infrared.
It's a mix. They're one of like the few companies that actually do a mix. They put carbon fibers fused into the ceramic. Pretty neat. So what's the point of that? Well, again, remember, carbon, gets up to a certain temperature naturally, just by nature of the element, and ceramic also gets up to its own kind of temperature. So since there's a difference in temperature on the panel, or the emitter it's called, that actually gives you slightly different wavelengths, slightly different micron range is the term. So it's a little bit more full spectrum, let's say, because there is some benefits to getting slightly different micron ranges for your health.
I did see some of the ranges too. All of them. People seem to be, everybody seems to try to get the range though that is most therapeutic. Are they all doing about the same thing as far as health-wise goes with inflammation and things like that? Mark had talked about, he thought maybe chiropractors and various healthcare providers were beginning to use the therapy. Is that true?
Absolutely. Infrared, believe it or not, has been studied for about 25 years. There's probably 3,000 studies, rigorous studies, published, all on infrared therapy. Okay, except that came out of the laser industry. But it's the same light, essentially, same infrared light.
Okay.
So we know that it's actually one of the best things for all sorts of musculoskeletal conditions.
Yeah, I was reading
there's a lot of practitioners who use it. Yeah. And, but here's the thing: if you but you want to really get a sauna that gets you closer and more that beneficial micron range. Now that's not to say that near and mid infrared doesn't have a benefit on inflammation, because it does. But I'm just letting you know that there's a little bit more therapeutic or studies. There's more like evidence, let's say, on things more in like the 9-ish range, let's say, of the microns. So there's
is that considered closer or?
So well,
are the three ranges near, mid, and?
It's far.
Yeah, far.
It's far there.
Which one are you talking about? Closer, the nearer one.
I'm talking about a little bit above mid, and it's almost on the way to far, but it's like in between, mid and far. 9,
10, 12, like in there.
Why? So how come they came up with that number? Just to clarify, if you don't know, your body naturally emits infrared in the 9.4 range.
Okay.
So they know that a healthy body naturally emits more, and it has its own therapeutic, benefits. So they just want to try to match that as closely as possible.
I see.
Yeah.
What do you have available with the domes price-wise? Are they all pretty costly?